releasing our resistance to forgiveness, if you're ready. Forgiveness is not something you give someone who has hurt you, it's something you give yourself. When we withhold forgiveness, we also withhold love and compassion and joy, because they all come from the same place. And what we withhold from others, we also deny ourselves, because there is no space where they end and we begin. We're all connected, and we're all here together. Our anger and grudges become the baggage we carry from one relationship and experience to another. So here's what I propose. Let's forgive, but not forget. Not everything is made to be forgotten, and turning the other cheek isn't necessarily the most spiritual response. While I do believe that forgiveness is the very crux of all spiritual and personal growth, which are really one and the same thing, not everything should be forgotten. We can choose to keep our memories of our past hurts and betrayals without dwelling in them, without remaining victims in our stories, but instead empowered to keep ourselves from making the same mistakes over and over again. Choosing not to forget keeps us from reliving the same patterns and stories, provided we've learned what we were meant to from them, which in some cases is less about the other person or perhaps our own flaws, and more about how to deal with these types of individuals or situations. These are the lessons that help us spot narcissists because there is nothing enlightened about being someone else's doormat. Sometimes saying no or walking away is the lesson to be learned. Forgive and forget, perhaps the biggest blunder to ever be spoken. How would that contribute to the de-evolution of our society? Example, what was that German guy's name? Oh, Hitler? And what did he do? Oh, right. Yeah, let's not forget. Let's stop at forgiveness. Withholding forgiveness places blocks in our way, both metaphorically and physically, preventing us from moving forward and inhibiting our own healing. So where do we start? We start with forgiving ourselves. Forgiving ourselves for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Forgiving ourselves for staying longer than we should have. Forgiving ourselves for staying silent when we should have spoken up. Forgiving ourselves for being blind to those who took advantage, for allowing ourselves to be manipulated, because love is blind. Our journey is long and we'll stumble many times. Have compassion and forgive yourself when you do. Because when we can bestow forgiveness upon ourselves, only then can we grant it to others. Some wounds run deep and take long to forgive. Even the willingness to forgive can feel like a struggle. If that's where you are, that's okay. Forgive yourself for not being ready to forgive. There is nothing healing or transformative about violating ourselves in order to force forgiveness. If it is coming from anywhere other than your heart, it is doing you a disservice. Acknowledge that you'll forgive when you're ready to, and for now, that's enough. As you do the work, that heaviness will lift when you're ready to release it. For some situations, that'll require a few hours in meditation or prayer. Others will require weeks, possibly even months. And hey, what's the rush? Life is a long time. Here's the thing with forgiving others. It's not the same thing as letting them off the hook. If a douche took advantage of you, forgiving them means you're ready to move on without the weight of that experience. But they're still a douche. It doesn't mean you need to text each other every minute or invite them to lunch next week, decide what you'll buy them for the holidays, or whether they get invited to your one day in the distance theoretical wedding. You don't have to let them back into your home, and you certainly don't have to let them back into your heart if you don't want to. What you do want to acknowledge is that at their core, their soul is made of the same brilliant light, the same pure love as yours. However, their fears and their narcissism may have corrupted their actions and thoughts, at their core is goodness, deep in their soul. Whether they choose to acknowledge it and recognize it or not, because that's the thing with free will. When we acknowledge that others are doing the best they can, despite their fears, their limiting beliefs, their addictions, trauma, and past wounds, forgiveness becomes easier. We don't have to forget or carry that burden for them, but we can start with forgiving. forgiving ourselves and then others. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video, and if it helped you and you feel it could help someone else or perhaps brighten their day. I'd be truly honored if you shared it. Have a question or need advice? Reach out to me in the comments below or through my website, because I'd love to hear from you. Sending you all love. Stay strong, warriors.